Hello, welcome back. For years, Tasha Cobbs Leonard stood as a towering presence in gospel music, with a voice that could move hearts and stir souls. Her songs were deeply spiritual, filled with passion and conviction, and they resonated with listeners all over the world. As time passed, speculation grew. Social media became a place where theories about her private life started to circulate, with people guessing at what might be behind the emotion in her performances. And then, seemingly out of nowhere, something shifted. Her husband, Kenneth Leonard, decided to speak up. What he said didn't come with fanfare or drama. It was calm but incredibly revealing. In just a few words, he confirmed what many had suspected. Tasha had been carrying burdens most of the world knew nothing about. His revelation didn't damage her image. Instead, it allowed people to finally understand the full truth behind her music. Before the world knew her name, before the accolades and sold-out shows, Tasha was just a young girl in a small Georgia town. Her father was a pastor, so church was an inseparable part of her life. People saw her as a vibrant girl with a powerful voice, one seemingly destined for greatness. But even in those early years, something deeper was going on. Inside, Tasha was dealing with feelings she couldn't name. Emotional waves of sadness and moments of anxiety would come and go without explanation. Despite being surrounded by her church community, she often felt isolated within her own mind. As a teen, she led worship with power and conviction, but would come home feeling emotionally drained, questioning her worth. She hid her pain well, so well, in fact, that even her closest family didn't know the extent of what she was feeling. She grew up hearing affirmations. "You're anointed. You're chosen. You're going to change the world." And while she longed to believe those words, there was always a lingering fear that maybe she wasn't as strong as everyone believed. So she began to master the art of pretending everything was okay, a coping mechanism that stayed with her well into adulthood. Her battles weren't visible to the naked eye. They were internal, spiritual, and incredibly private. In the church culture she was raised in, there wasn't a roadmap for dealing with these kinds of emotions. She was taught to pray through it, to praise her way out, to keep singing. And so she did, using her voice to uplift others while her own heart quietly broke. As her career began to soar and her music reached national and even global audiences, Tasha became known as a force in gospel music. Songs like "Break Every Chain" were more than hits. They were declarations of deliverance and power. But while her platform grew, so did the pressure. It wasn't enough to sing well. She was expected to be perfect. With every ovation and award, she found herself feeling more and more disconnected from her own life. The demands of fame began to take a toll. She was living her dream, yet felt like she was losing herself in the process. Behind the public appearances and the uplifting songs, Tasha was battling a deep depression. She would shine on stage, only to cry alone later. She felt exhausted from constantly being on, from having to be strong all the time. And in the church world, where mental health issues are often misunderstood or avoided, she didn't feel safe to be honest about her struggles. It became harder to tell anyone what she was going through. She began to feel like she was just playing a role, one that no longer fit. Her love for God remained, but so did the ache inside her. The cost of her success was beginning to feel unbearable. Through all of this, there was one person who never turned away: Kenneth. Her husband became her safe place, her steady hand when everything else felt like too much. He didn't try to fix her. He didn't preach at her. He simply stayed. He saw it all: the sleepless nights, the blank stares, the moments when even joy seemed to vanish. And even when he didn't have the right words, his presence spoke volumes. He loved her for who she was, not just for the version of her that the world cheered for. One night, everything changed. Tasha broke down, and Kenneth didn't respond with advice or encouragement. He just sat with her and cried. It was that moment, raw, unfiltered and profoundly vulnerable, that marked the start of true healing. For the first time, Tasha said it out loud. She wasn't okay. That night wasn't about answers or solutions. It was about truth. It was about choosing to stop hiding. And that choice became the beginning of a new chapter. Tasha stepped back from the spotlight. She canceled events, scaled down her obligations, and did something incredibly brave. She chose herself. Not in a selfish way, but in a life-saving one. She decided it was time to prioritize her mental and emotional health. With Kenneth beside her, she began therapy. She started journaling. She began to peel back the layers of pain and give herself permission to just be human. Not perfect, not untouchable, just real. This shift didn't come without criticism. Some people whispered. Others judged. But Tasha kept going, not because it was easy, but because it was necessary. Slowly, her healing began. It didn't happen overnight, and it wasn't a smooth path. But each honest conversation, each therapy session, and each silent prayer moved her a little further from the edge, and Kenneth stayed with her every step of the way, not trying to rescue her, but walking beside her. In time, Tasha reemerged, not as the flawless gospel icon, but as someone who had walked through the valley and come out the other side. Her music changed. It still carried power, but now it was laced with transparency. Her songs began to reflect her journey, not just her victories, but her battles too. She began to speak out about mental health and emotional pain in ways that the church world wasn't used to hearing. And people responded. They didn't just hear her, they believed her. Because now, her story was as real as her voice. Kenneth continued to support her, encouraging her to share even when it was risky. Together, they became advocates for healing and honesty in a space that had too often encouraged silence. Their relationship, once tested in private, became a symbol of resilience and grace. Eventually, Kenneth decided it was time for his voice to be heard. In a rare and deeply honest interview, he confirmed what so many had guessed. Tasha had nearly reached her breaking point. She had considered giving up, but through love, faith, and sheer determination, she found a way back.